When it comes to films and shows that have been advertised recently, their whole aesthetics seem kinda uninspired, dull, and altogether kinda dry. Not particularly imaginative, and therefore can't really surprise or inspire. Don't get me wrong, there are always exceptions, but they always come from places where you would expect these exceptions. So I'm talking about studios like A24, Neon, or productions by directors who are still interested in film as an art form. Or maybe some confused elderly man.
What the hell?
Partially, I guess, you can attribute it to a certain trend in which all once popular IPs, with a few hairy exceptions.
Why do they call you Dirty Harry?
Well, that's one thing about our Harry. Doesn't play any favorites. Harry hates everybody. You name it.
Are coated with smooth, easy to digest frosting mixed together and prepared by market research. Oh fuck yeah, that's fucking delicious. So I guess products are now made, I mean movies, are now made like more rigid, not very original, uncreative. The investments guarantee a bigger success and security overall. So even more surprising is when you see something or experience something that at least attempts to experiment, not only with content, but also with form. So let's talk about Sugar, I guess. Sugar is a new mini-series that has been prepared by the Apple. And if you never heard of it, well, that's probably the result of oversaturation of the market, bad marketing, or maybe you just had some better stuff to do, like going to a baby concert. The series itself was created by the now infamous screenwriter Mark Protasevich, known for The Cell, and I guess guilty for the Old Boy remake. The director is perhaps lesser known. His name is Fernando Mireles, or Mireles, who nevertheless demonstrated a distinctive style and direction with the film City of God, which he made in partnership with Katja Lund, blending an interesting mix of documentary and feature film elements. But let's get back to Sugar. The leads are Colin Farrell, Amy Ryan, and Farmer Hoggett.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
I can understand if one's impression is going to be like, huh? Colin Farrell, Apple, Babe, Amy Ryan, Office, Steve Carell, Uber, Pizza Hut. I guess all those things sound kinda familiar and mainstream. But let me tell you this. I've seen a single episode of this series so far and with great certainty can tell you this. I think that the show has potential to be something different. And although the term should be used with caution, quite unique. The premise of the show is pretty unremarkable and can be explained like in 2 words. So the main character is John Sugar. He's a private detective residing in Los Angeles who is being tasked with finding the lost granddaughter of a once famous Hollywood mogul. John is a loner, he drives a classic car, classic Corvette convertible for the job, fence, wears a tailored suit, drinks whiskey, and punctuates the events with a pleasantly smoky voiceover.
Out here, I'm one of the good guys.
The whole thing is supported by jazz music, lots of characters, and occasional action. Now this may sound suspiciously familiar to most of you who have seen a film noir before, and I guess this is the intention of the series. It's a neo-noir with all or almost all the familiar attributes of the genre. And yet, there's something different about Sugar, especially compared to similar shows or films. And you can tell that by the visual style alone. For example, within one scene, the cinematography can change multiple times. The camera can be stable, only to suddenly become unchained and unbound in the next shot. The shots themselves vary within an interaction between characters, from close-ups to low angles, Dutch angles, zooms, different aspect ratios, cut-ins from old movies, and so on and so forth. This may sound like a headache-inducing stylistic nightmare, an embarrassing student movie perhaps, or an embarrassing film made by a seasoned director.
I gotta go. No, I really gotta go. Number 1, Jack.
directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
And who the hell knows? I mean, I've only seen the first episode, but I guess Sugar does have another layer to it. Sort of like a lasagna does. Now, the only thing before watching the series that I heard about it was its cryptic synopsis. It was like a genre-bending version or interpretation of the private detective stories set in contemporary LA and stuff like that. So, what kind of genres are being bent here? I mean, you can just take mumblecore and combine it with the noir genre. Just as well take Big Lebowski and say, well, that's kind of a genre-bending noir story, right? Now, this might be and perhaps is, to a certain extent, a marketing ploy. Vague allusions, cryptic descriptions, big promises that catch the attention of potential viewer. But I really want to give the creators the benefit of the doubt and say that stylistic decisions that were made on purpose. Although the series cannot do without the familiar attributes within the chosen genre, they are emphasized so much and so bizarrely that the paranoid feeling cannot leave you while you watch it. At least that was the case for me. Like a simulation or a dream, controlled and subject to forces operating behind the scenes. Let's take the main character John Sugar as an example. Private investigator, single, attractive, but at the same time destructive in nature. Not really attached to anything or anyone, except perhaps his car. Well, that sounds like a genre cliché, doesn't it? However, new information is constantly being revealed about him that disguises the typical genre image of the anti-hero. He's a polyglot, he's far from being a misanthrope. All the characters who are literally good and innocent in the episode admire this so great investigator. A casual driver, a homeless man, some hotel maintenance. Even a fucking dog does like him. And he never saw that dog before. He never saw that dog before in his life. He doesn't even have like a chewy toy thing. Why would the dog like him? But the deconstruction doesn't stop there, let me tell ya. John is a cinephile. In one scene he gets issues of magazines like Sight and Sound, Cahiers du Cinéma, the American cinematographer. At first I thought, well, he was preparing for the job, that he was trying to flatter the Hollywood mogul and confidently throw a few clever insider snippets. Did you know that Scorsese was once attached to the Joker movie? But no, he's just an embarrassing nerd. And I think it was at this point where I started to think more about the synopsis and the cryptic description of the series overall. Almost every moment that I have seen in the first episode so far seemed like a fantasy. A character with no other landmarks or objects to model his character on, other than the incarnations of Bogart and Ford. It is literally the look of a literally me archetype. However, and this I find fascinating, or interesting at least with Sugar, this archetype is taken further in the series. Because people who associate themselves with characters like Travis Bickle, characters like these, or this one, or that one, or even this one. These people often need real recognition, unlike some of those characters. It seems to me that John Sugar, the protagonist of the series, represents this very same reimagined version of the archetype. The focus that different stylistic devices direct towards the genre are thus representative of his view, which is characterized by antisocial film consumption, and the desire for others, in this case the viewers themselves, to accept his world and witness his inner torment. In some scenes he even looks like he's afraid of becoming an anti-hero, afraid of embracing this character who will just shoot people and won't hesitate, wouldn't have any moral quandaries about killing somebody. And even Colin Farrell plays this role somehow very strange, but good strange. He doesn't seem to be playing a character, but more like a symbol, like a James Bond isn't a character, but more like an image of masculinity, like adventure and danger and style and so on. If a comparison would have to be made, then I would guess I would recommend something like Long Goodbye. Without giving too much away, the main character of that film is also a private investigator, and he's also somehow off. Mumbles the events of the case to himself as though the voiceover is condemned by the film itself to be uninteresting to anyone else but himself. He smokes so much that it almost falls into a parody territory. Every bit of information that he finds out during the course of the film, everyone, and I mean everyone, even the audience, already know. He's a schmuck basically. The film itself seems to be more interested in strange characters that appear throughout and don't conform with the types they are supposed to portray. There's even a guy in that film who literally makes goofy impressions of once famous Hollywood stars who at one point starred in film noir. I guess in contrast to Sugar, who tries to deconstruct the genre through the characters and audience's perspective, Long Goodbye more or less just mocks the clichés of the genre itself. It mocks the notion of the noir, especially set in the 70s, also being political in one moment or another.
Ran away. How's your girl?
She's alright, man. She got busted at a protest rally. I had to bust a pig that busted her, man.
Come on, goddammit.
And keeping in mind that the film was made by Robert Altman, who is kind of famous for that, it makes total sense. Oh, and in case you're still not convinced of watching Long Goodbye, let me tell you that you might catch a glimpse of a certain Austrian-born bodybuilder in one of his most awkward roles to date. So, as I said before, I've only seen one episode so far, and these thoughts are nothing more than speculation, I guess. But as I said before, it's rather rare that something peculiar appears in this boundless ocean of forgettable and industrial entertainment. So if you have the time, just check out Sugar, I guess. Or just watch The Toast of London, I think it's the same thing.
What?